We are going straight to our Twitter section tonight. We have so many questions, Slaven, that have come your way this evening from our viewers. I'm going to start on management tonight. A couple that are of a similar theme. What's the difference between managing at a club level compared to a national team? And on that theme, is international management harder than club management?
Well, same sport, of course. It's the same game. I've done both. When you're international, you have obviously more time to prepare for the game. You know, you have 4 weeks minimum, sometimes more, and you can analyze the players individual as a team, then how they play, then all that. You have time and time and time, and also to prepare your game. Although your players, especially in Croatia, they play abroad, but you can talk to them on the phone, you can visit them. What I like to do and get them into a game, although it's still 3 or 4 weeks to the meeting and all that. But and then you are dealing, if you are the manager of the good country, you are dealing with the good players. The players are always up for it. They are playing for their country. It's a big thing, big pride, and that's a good point. The bad point is you are not working every day with them. If you don't have a left back, you don't go to the market. You can't go to the market and get a left back, you know. So there are some pluses and minuses. Fortunately, I was, and I said it, and I have no problem with saying that when I was manager of my country, you know, and there's no bigger job that you can imagine. It's like the job that makes you, it's more than a job.
Slaven, you know, say a country like Croatia, I would imagine most of the players are playing abroad. Do you think there's that bit more passion to, we go back to Croatia, we get together as a team, and then you manage English players? Is there something you feel different, is there? When you manage maybe not one of the, listen, you beat England, but not one of the so-called bigger nations, you create that team spirit where everyone
I don't know.
bonds.
That's what, I mean, you played for England then. You know, one of the reasons why we were beating you twice, like in Zagreb and at Wembley. At that time, few of our players like Modric, like Čorluka, like Ivan Kranjčar, like Eduardo, they played basically in Croatian league. So the game against England was in October, let's say. They were thinking about it from September. They had their league games, definitely, yeah. But you had Chelsea on Saturday, you know what I mean? Chelsea had you on Saturday, or Man United had that one. Our players were dreaming about that game, and that made it so special. The good thing about when you are international manager, the pressure is even bigger because you don't have game every week. Your next game is in 4 or 5 weeks, so the pressure is more. It counts more, and but it is a great job.
On that pressure, particularly being a club manager in the Premier League, you had a very good first season. You said you were even more proud of your second season, and the third season didn't start so well for you. Yeah. And people straight away, Slaven, were talking, or we were reading in the papers, you've got 2 games to save your job. The fans were talking. Social media was talking about your job. What's that like to be under that spotlight as a manager, under that pressure?
Well, it's not enjoyable, but it's a part of your job. And it's happening to everyone. You can't, because you are watching football, you're watching games, you are watching, even when you have a good season, there are some managers who, at that moment, they are having troubles, they are getting sacked. So you can't think that ain't gonna happen to me, never. No, so you are kind of prepared. You are ready for, you don't like them, you are not enjoying them, but for the things you are ready that can happen, you can take them easier. To be fair, the pressure here is big, but it's also the job is big, you know. I don't feel, back home in Croatia, okay, it's home, so the pressure was bigger, but I don't feel the pressure here bigger than, for example, in Turkey. So the pressure is everywhere. The pressure is the championship, the pressure is in the Premier League and everywhere. The difference that makes Premier League than the other leagues, and that's why it's the most attractive one or whatever, is that when you are Premier League manager, you know that you've been judged and criticized in a bad way or in a good way from all over the world. You know that what West Ham fans from New Zealand are talking about you in no time because of the social
West Ham
media.
fans in New Zealand?
Of course we have. Of course we have. So, no, I mean, but I didn't really feel more pressure here than let's say, in Turkey. On the contrary, here, you don't talk to the media that much as you talk in some other countries. In some other countries, you have much more obligations, you have much more press conferences. Here, you have a day before a game like 2 or 3 minutes, and then after the game. Okay, in some of the countries, you have them almost on a daily basis. So, we can moan about the pressure sometimes. I mean, it's not nice. Of course it isn't, but the job you are doing is a massive one.
One of the aspects of that is managing difficult players. How difficult is it, Slaven, to manage players that are trying to get a move? For example, Sanchez, whose move has been completed to Manchester United tonight, and Dimitri Payet, and also trying to keep them motivated to play for their current club. And of course, this is a situation that was very real for you at West Ham. We heard about the impact of Dimitri Payet, particularly in that first season, your last at Upton Park. At what point and how did you become aware of the fact that you had an unhappy player on your hands?
It's quite common nowadays. We had the situation that you just mentioned. With Dimitri, it was a great season. He enjoyed it. He was brilliant on the pitch, off the pitch, in the dressing room. Very vocal in a good way, having fun, mixing with British, English, French, or whatever players. And then in the second season, he was doing everything right on the pitch, in games and all that. But he just wanted to go. He had some private problems. And he wanted to, at that moment, of course, I tried to persuade him to stay because he was our best player, very liked from the other players. He was giving us that extra. The club wanted him to stay. I got that message from the board as well. We were on the same wavelength, and we wanted to improve, not to lose our best players. And I persuaded him, I spoke to him a few times and all that, but when it came to the point that it started to damage actually the dressing room, when the players were coming to me and asking what's going on, we were already a little bit in the papers, when it was starting to harm the team, then I had to react, spoke with the board. And unfortunately, you have to do it. You have to draw the line. His situation was a bit specific, It wasn't like John Stone's situation when the player is 22 or 21 and you tell him, come on, John, stay another year. You're going to still be young, And then you're going to move, like Everton did with him. Dimi was already 29, 30, And then he also knew if I don't go now, I will basically, very hard for me. It's going to be harder and harder for some club to get me. And he wanted to go home. And
so the players have the power now, Slaven, you think?
Absolutely. I mean, you have still some clubs in Europe that are bigger than the players. But those are the clubs with the history of being hard clubs, like Juventus, let's say. No Juventus player is bigger than the club. But not a lot of Manchester United is a club like that. But those clubs in transitions, those clubs who are getting players, good players, because they have some money and all that, and are not big clubs, then the players very soon, if they're doing good and they're praised and everything, blah, and they're offered new contracts and all that, very soon they become basically bigger than the club. And that's today, player and agents, they are dictating the clubs. You have now the agents, how they work together. You have a couple of guys or whatever who are having 5, 6, 7 players from one club under their belt. And of course that you as a manager, you are almost depending on them. So it's a very complex job, you know, but at the end of the day, you are in football, especially if you are ex-player. You stayed in football, you are doing what you want, what you like. When you win, it's unbelievable. When you lose, of course, it is down. And you are well paid for that. No.
But when you had all these issues to deal with, Slaven, were you not exhausted when you left West Ham? Mentally exhausted?
I told you before the show that when you are in, you are feeling, you don't realize how much machine it is, how much like it's a pressure and all that. Once you're out, you go like, it was like, you know, hard and all that. But probably you wouldn't be, all the managers in the Premier League, they didn't get a wild card from the FA, please join the Premier League. You've done your job. Was it Croatia? Was it Besiktas? Was it, I don't know, with the guy from Watford, it's his 10th club or whatever. So that was a process that got you in a position that you can cope with the pressure. You are ready for that, you know. You're on a level, I don't know, top level. And you can cope with it.
Did you feel that when you were an elite player at Liverpool, it might be hard for you to judge, that you had more mental strength than others in that dressing room?
Yeah, without a doubt. A lot of those players in the dressing room had more skill than me or more ability. The reason I played football at that level was because of mental strength. But don't ever think you don't have times where you doubt yourself, your confidence goes, you lose a little bit of belief, you may put on this persona of, you know, and it's certainly more important maybe for the manager as the figurehead of the club, but being that local player, and when times weren't going well for the team or personally, same as Slaven just mentioned, in some ways you put a shield around yourself and you don't hear too much what's going on outside. You just drop the kids off at school, go to Melwood, go home. You sort of get into that thing of not really mixing with too much, just focus on what you need to do. And as you just said there, when you come out of it, you sort of look, it's like you're looking back into the bubble and think, that was all going on there, and I seem to deal with it. But when I was a player and I stopped, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't go into coaching, or I haven't done, or certainly didn't go straight into coaching or management. I needed to come out of that bubble of your whole life revolved around a result. Look at Klopp's interview. He's going to be in a bad way for 3 or 4 days. So I was like that as a player. And you sort of come out of that. And when you're in it, people are always talking about you, the press. Social media wasn't there about then. And in some ways, you find a way to do it, because if you can't, you won't last at the top in the Premier League.
But it's totally different ball game, a player and a manager, you know. As a player, of course you are down, you lost the game or whatever. And when you are preparing for the game, it's more individual preparation. Some players more, like you were that kind of the player, you know, that is, you were thinking for not only about yourself, you are taking care about the whole team. You were captain or vice captain or whatever, you are a major player. And that was make you big player and all that. But as a manager, it's much more complex. You know, you have to take care of 25 individuals or even more, and some of them are happy, some of them are not happy. That makes it more difficult, of course, but also that makes it more challenging. You know, that makes it more interesting. That you have to be a coach. Of course, you have to be a coach. It's the basis. You know, it's sine qua non. But then also you have to be a friend. You have to be older brother. You have to be a shrink. You know, you have to be everything. It's a complex job.
Did you worry more, almost, Slaven, about what people thought of you when you were a player?
What do you mean?
used to always look at the papers.
We were
didn't you,
talking
for
about
marks out of 10?
looking at the papers. You know, to
It
see
was
how
easier
people,
then.
People
You know, it
thought
was
of you
easy.
as a
We
player.
spoke about it. Sometimes, you know what I mean? We can't forget. Sometimes we are asking from the players too much, you know. They are very fragile. They have those earphones and everything, and
Modern
they're
players
acting
you're
like
talking about.
modern players. They're acting like a confidence and everything, but it's not easy for them, you know. When we were playing, I told you before a game, I was waiting my whole, after the game, by next day, I was waiting to open the Sun or People or, to get, am I going to get 7 or 8 or 5? No, or 6 or whatever. And then it affected my couple of days. And nowadays, the players can find out even at the half time, you know, in real time.
At half time?
What they can if they want. They have enough time.
Social media.
Social media thinks, oh, you are crap or you are good or whatever. So the pressure on them. Huh?
Do you think they do that even at half time now?
I never saw it, but theoretically,
There's an opportunity to do it, isn't it?
opportunity, definitely. They can if they want. They have time, they have space, the dressing rooms are maybe not in Burnley, in a small dressing room, you know, but at Wembley, Spurs are playing, you have time to have a meal at the halftime, and space. So what I'm saying is, like, as a manager, it was always a tough job and all that, but it is becoming more and more complex, more and more complex. I'm not talking about the pressure because there are more pundits, you know what the people are talking about you there, they're all around the world, but it is much more demanding.
How is that for a manager, sort of in the Premier League? We cover all the games, we speak about it. Managers a lot now, I hear them talking about the pundit said this or he said this and reacting to what sort of us, different channels say. Do you think that is a problem for managers or something you just have to dismiss?
Well, it is. I like pundits.
Which ones?
No. To be fair, some of you, or even I can say it because this is a Premier League of the players, Premier League of the managers, Premier League of the pundits. So the people who are analysing games and talking about the games are top people. You know, a lot of people would like to be in your situations and all that. So you can learn a lot. And it helps. And when I'm home and I don't, after the game, or if I'm watching the game at the halftime, I don't go somewhere else and come back for the start of the second half. I watch what you watch, Thierry Henry, Graham Souness, and a lot of other, Rio, Frank and them, Steve McMahon.
Well, you do watch them.
No, I do. Come on. No, I do. So,
What channels that?
Slaven, we would love to carry this conversation on. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Just gives us time to rank the pundits tonight. Jamie Carragher, 5.
He never mentioned Gary Neville, did he?
No.